Hello, check 1 2 3. Checking to see if I'm audible. Hello, check 1 2 3. Can somebody confirm if I'm audible and visible, people? Hello, check 1 2 3. Can somebody confirm if I'm audible and visible, people? Hello, check 1 2 3. Can somebody confirm if I'm audible and visible, people? Hello, check 1 2 3. Can somebody confirm if I'm audible and visible? Okay folks, let's start with today's session. Today we are going to practice a few questions from reading comprehension. Okay folks, let's start with today's session. Today we are going to practice a few questions from reading comprehension. Okay folks, let's start with today's session. Today we are going to practice. Okay. In the meanwhile, more people come to the class. Let me just complete a brief introduction about myself. My name is Ravi Manoram. I'm an alumnus of FMS Delhi and Delhi Technological University. I'm an author of 2 books. Right, and I have been an educator for more than 6 years. I previously have worked with Time and CL, and I have been a proud mentor to many 99 percentilers in the past, and who have graduated from and are currently studying in IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, FMS, XLRI, you name it, right? And I primarily teach all the areas of VARC as far as CAT, GMAT and other MBA entrance exams are concerned. I also train students for group discussion, interviews and personality development. Dedication, perseverance, empathy and intellect, these are the values that I'm proud of, and these are the values that I'm loved and respected for. So please follow me on Unacademy so that you get notification of all the classes I take here. You can also join my Telegram group here as well, right? So yeah, so people, there's a 6 months special course that is special plus subscription that Unacademy is offering, wherein 6 months you can get for only 16,400. It's very cheap, and you can get a further 10% discount if you use the educator code. So you can use my code RAVIFMS, right? The iconic subscriptions are available, people, for 6 months, 12 months and 24 months, and you can get 10% discount here as well if you use my code RAVIFMS, right? And then Unacademy has launched a comprehensive test series, so you can enroll. So there are free test series which is free for everybody all over the country, and there are some plus test series as well. All of these test series, the free ones are absolutely free for everybody, so you can definitely take advantage of these. They'll ask you for an enrollment code, for which you can use the code RAVIFMS. Yes, so yeah, you can use the code here. And ask a doubt feature has been introduced by Unacademy, so you can think about taking this as well, right? So just take it, click the picture of the thing and just upload it, and that is there, your doubt has been asked. So these plus courses are available, people, so you can take advantage of those. CAT 22 batches are currently running, so these are my batches, people, on Wednesday and Friday. These are on weekends, so you can take the weekend batch or the weekdays batch, and you can also join in for the final revision batch for CAT 2021. Some other batches are also going on, so you can take advantage of these batches as well. So don't forget to use the code RAVIFMS. You'll get 10% discount, and you will get my mentorship as well. So together we can crack it. Okay, so today what we are going to do is we are going to practice CAT 2019 reading comprehension passages. Yeah, so we are going to practice this. I hope everybody has a copy of these sheets. If not, then I can send it to the group. Yes. Let me see if I can just okay. Am I visible, everybody? So yes, so what I've done is I have uploaded the entire collection of passages that we are going to discuss today in the group. So people, it's a public group. Just type in my name, Ravi Manoram, and you will find the group in Telegram, right? And then you can download the passages from there, and you can use it from there as well. Yeah, so that's what you can do. So go through the passage and then we will start our discussion. So here I think because of my head a little bit of I think two words are being cut off. It's be tactile and olfactory, namely a delight in the feel and smell of air. So this is a fantastic passage to discuss. It's a little tough, but I'm definitely confident you would love it. Try करो जरा इस passage को. I will also show you the mind mapping technique and everybody. So once again people, you can download the RC passage from the group. Just join the group and download the passages from there. I'm giving you 5 minutes to go through the passage and then we will start our discussion. छोटा सा passage है, it's quite interesting as well. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to explain the passage. You must have read it by now. As defined by the geographer Waifu Tuan, Topophilia is the affective bond between people and place. Topophilia. Very interesting word that Waifu Tuan has kind of introduced. His 1974 book set forth a wide-ranging exploration of how the emotive ties with the material environment vary greatly from person to person and in intensity, subtlety and mode of expression. So, emotive ties with the material environment. Material environment means something that is of material in nature, that is you can touch, you can feel, and the things that are around, the market, the housing society, the parks, the road, the entertainment avenues, the shop, the shopping complexes, anything, right? The scenery around it, right? And emotive ties with the material environment vary greatly from person to person and in intensity, subtlety and mode of expression, right? So how you express those ties, how much of an intensity do you feel, and how much subtlety is there in the emotive ties, that is the emotional bond that you have for a particular place, right? So factors influencing one's depth of a response to the environment include cultural background, gender, race, and historical circumstance. And Tuan also argued that there is a biological and sensory element as well, right? So factors influencing one's depth of response to the environment are cultural background, gender, race, historical circumstance. For example, if an Indian goes to the US, the person's response to the place is going to be way different, than an American who is living there, or let's say from some other country somebody else goes there as well, right? तो ये भी चीज़ है. For example, a Mexican who goes there or an Indian goes there with, let's say, engineering and MBA qualifications, that person's response to the environment is going to be way different, right? So topophilia might not be the strongest of human emotions. Indeed, many people feel utterly indifferent towards the environment that shape their lives. So topophilia जो है सबसे ज़्यादा strong emotion, human emotions नहीं होगा एक जगह के लिए. It might not be the strongest emotions, but then many people feel utterly indifferent, and there are people who feel indifferent. कोई उनका attachment जो है environment से है नहीं, that actually tends to shape their lives. The place where they are born, they are brought up, or they have been working for, let's say, 10 years, 20 years, right? But when activated, it has the power to elevate a place to become the carrier of when activated, what will get activated? When topophilia, that is the love for a place, if it gets activated, then it has the power to elevate a place to become the carrier of emotionally charged events, or to be perceived as a symbol. फिर वो एक symbolic हो जाता है जगह, है ना, right? So it depends. For example, let's say somebody goes to McLeodganj, तो McLeodganj के साथ जो है कभी-कभी लोगों का एक emotional bond आ जाता है, and they feel very connected to that particular place, है ना? तो ये भी चीज़ जो है ये पैराग्राफ कह रहा है, ठीक है? Perceived as a symbol. Aesthetic appreciation is one way in which people respond to the environment, है ना? Aesthetic appreciation, that is the beauty of a place, how that place looks and everything. So a brilliantly colored rainbow after gloomy afternoon showers, a busy city street alive with human interaction. One might experience the beauty of such landscapes that had seemed quite ordinary only moments before, or that are being newly discovered, है ना? So even if you're living in a city for a long time, you can actually discover the city in many different ways. जैसे जो street आप रोज क्रॉस कर रहे हो, it has been very busy, but suddenly there has been a rainfall, और एक खूबसूरत सा एक rainbow आता है, then it gives a completely different look to the city, and you feel emotionally charged up when you look at it, right? Hush, hello my dear, right? तो ये भी है, ठीक है ना? So a brilliantly colored rainbow after gloomy afternoon showers, a busy city street alive with human interaction. One might experience the beauty of such landscapes that had seemed quite ordinary only moments before, or that are being newly discovered. Then it says here, this is quite the opposite of a second topophilic bond. So the first topophilic bond is aesthetic appreciation, the beauty of a place that you might feel, right? And then the second topophilic bond that we have, namely that of the acquired taste for certain landscapes and places that one knows very well. For example, let's say somebody who has never lived in Delhi NCR and now has come here to work, especially like in places like Gurugram or Greater Noida, right? And therefore the person starts developing a taste for the place, right? A connection, acquired. So ये कैसा taste है? This is a kind of an acquired taste, right? For example, 5 days a week काम करना है, weekends को दोस्तों के साथ hang out करना है, and so on and so forth, right? So when a place is home, or when a space has become the locus of memories or the meaning of gaining a livelihood, it frequently evokes a deeper set of attachments than those predicated purely on the visual, है ना? So when a place is a home where you have been living, when a space has become the locus of memories, है ना? Locus of memories है, so you have been living there, maybe you fell in love, you got promotion, you bought your new house at a particular place, है ना? So the means of gaining a livelihood, it frequently evokes a deeper set of attachment than those predicated purely on the visual. जहाँ सिर्फ एक विजुअल लुकआउट है ना, उतना ज़्यादा आपको अटैचमेंट नहीं हो सकता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल आप पहाड़ों पे घूमने के लिए जा सकते हैं, या फिर आप समुद्र में घूमने के आसपास घूमने के लिए जा सकते हैं. यू माइट गो टू द माउंटेन्स, यू नो, फॉर सम ट्रैवल. यू माइट गो टू यू नो टू द सीज एंड ऑल, है ना. यू माइट सी द ब्यूटिफुल सीनरी आउट देयर, बट you might not be exactly, you know, attached to that particular place than, you know, where you have a place which you can actually call home. ठीक है ना. तो ये भी चीज़ है. Or gaining a means of life where you have been working for a very long time, right? So it frequently evokes a deeper set of attachment than those predicated purely on the visual. So उसके बाद third response to the environment भी है. Third response to the environment क्या है? Also depends on the human sense, but may be tactile and olfactory. That depends on touch and smell. You know, namely a delight in the feel and smell of the air. है ना, कहीं कहीं the smell of the air kind of makes you want to, you know, stay there. है ना, तो वो चीज़ है. कुछ लोग जाते हैं चांदनी चौक में, बोलते हैं आहा यहाँ चांदनी चौक में जो स्मेल आ रही है जलेबी की या कुछ भी है. Some people actually like that, so you know they get attached to that particular place as well, right? So water and the earth and all as well, है ना. तो ये चीज़ है. कभी कभी अब ये चीज़ है, कोई if you go to you know, a place in the mountains, the feel and the smell of the air, you know, it makes you once again feel attached to that particular place, है ना. And that is one of the reasons why people love to go to places like McLeodganj or any other, you know, place like Ladakh or anywhere else, right? And the earth, right? So topophilia and its very close conceptual twin, which is the sense of a place, is an experience that, however elusive, has inspired recent architects and planners. So topophilia, है ना, or the sense of the place, है ना, this has inspired many architects and planners. तो अब देखो इसका मेन पॉइंट क्या हो जाएगा. There are many factors that influence, you know, the bond with a particular place. It can be cultural background, gender, race. ये सब उसके elaborations, but we are just going to keep it as many factors. And the three kinds of bonds that the author has discussed is aesthetic bond, number one here, है ना. And then we have the first one is this, and the second one is where a place is home, and then there's a second type of a topophilic bond, which is acquired taste and memories or means of gaining livelihood. This becomes the second point, है ना. और third point इसमें फिर आपका क्या हो जाएगा? It would be you know, the third response to the environment also depends on human senses. So third response is based on tactile and olfactory, that is smell and touch of a place, है ना. तो इस पे भी वो depend करता है. ठीक है. So this is the main point of this particular passage. ठीक है. Now let's look at this particular paragraph. Most notably, new urbanism seeks to counter the perceived placelessness of modern suburbs and the decline of central cities, you know, through new traditional design motives. ठीक है. अब देखो इसका मतलब क्या है कि sometimes when you go to certain restaurants and all, they tend to, नहीं होता कि एक village restaurant है या कुछ है, they tend to add some, you know, induced designs to that particular place, because if you are living in, let's say, a metropolitan city, they might have big buildings, but you know, sometimes what they lack is culture and emotional bond to a particular place. So some people, you know, so they feel placelessness when they are working in these kind of places, है ना. And modern suburbs and the decline of central cities, तो इनमें कोई centrality नहीं होती cities में, है ना. So what they do is they try to create some new traditional design motives and all, है ना. So जैसे theme based restaurants वगैरह में जाते हो, theme based parks होती हैं, तो यहाँ पर अगर आप जाते हो तो you tend to get these new traditional designs. But then the author says, although motivated by good intention, such attempts to create places rich in meaning are perhaps bound to disappoint, है ना. ये हमें काफ़ी disappoint करते हैं. As one noted, purely aesthetic responses often are suddenly revealed, but their intensity really is long lasting, है ना. तो कभी कभी ये theme based restaurants, parks या entertainment venues पे आप जाओगे तो थोड़ी देर के लिए ना वो रिस्पॉन्स आपके अंदर आता है ना. You tend to get that, right? They are suddenly, you know, are often suddenly win, but their intensity really is long lasting, ठीक है ना. लेकिन उसकी जो intensity है, that is really long lasting. It does not really last for a very long time, ठीक है. Topophilia is difficult to design for and impossible to quantify, है ना. तो ये love for a place, It's very difficult to design for that matter, and it's very difficult to quantify as well. And its most articulate interpreters have been self-reflective philosophers such as Henry David Thoreau, Henry David Thoreau evoking a marvelously intricate sense of place at Walden Pond, and Tuan describing his deep affinity for the desert. That somebody might love a desert, the desert a lot, है ना, तो उस चीज़ के लिए भी कभी कभी ये चीज़ होती है, ठीक है. So topophilia connotes a place, a positive relationship, but it often is useful to explore the darker affiliations between people and place. So sometimes जो है darker affiliation भी होता है between people and place. Patriotism literally meaning the love of one's terra patria or homeland, है ना. So अब देखो, patriotism is actually a positive concept, has long been cultivated by governing elites for a range of nationalist projects, है ना. So governing elites is, you know, the politicians and everyone, they tend to inspire patriotism in us, including, and sometimes it also includes war preparation and ethnic cleansing. So residents of upscale residential developments have disclosed how important it is to maintain their community's distinct identity, है ना. जैसे न्यूयॉर्क वगैरह में जाओगे तो मैनहट्टन है ना, एक बहुत पॉश एरिया है, फिर दूसरे एरियाज होते हैं जो उतना ज़्यादा पॉश एरियाज नहीं होते हैं, है ना. So and these posh areas, you know, they tend to maintain their distinct identity as well, right? Often by casting themselves in a superior social position and by reinforcing class and racial differences, है ना. तो ये लोग क्या करते हैं, क्लास और racial differences जो है लोगों में, वो उस जगह में जो है काफ़ी strong कर देते हैं, है ना. So particular class of people will only live here, particular race of people will live here, है ना. And just as a beloved landscape is suddenly revealed, so too may landscapes of fear cast a dark shadow over a place that makes one feel a sense of dread or anxiety, or topophobia. So topophobia फिर क्या हो जाएगा आपका, which would be, you know, fear of a particular place, है ना. तो ये भी आपका जो है इसमें count हो जाएगा, ठीक है. So that's essentially what you know, the author is saying. Sometimes patriotism can be used you know, in a wrong way, that is, you know, including war preparation and ethnic cleansing, which you know, Hitler actually did you know, way back during the World War II. Sometimes, you know, there can be class and racial differences associated with a particular society or a particular location, है ना. तो ये भी author इसमें बात कर रहा है ना. तो ये चीज़ है. So the point is if I have to take out the main points of this particular paragraph, the main points would then become that the neo-traditional design efforts, you know, to counter placelessness in modern suburbs, है ना, do not create a long-lasting effect. Number one, ये हो जाएगा. Topophilia is difficult to design, है ना, and impossible to quantify. The second main point ये भी हो जाएगा. And secondly, there can be darker association with a particular place. And in this context, the author has given the example of you know, patriotism being used for wrong purposes like war preparation and ethnic cleansing, and racial and class differences in certain suburbs or localities, है ना. So if a place makes a person dreadful or anxiety, that is, उसके अंदर अगर ये fear का sense आता है, then, you know, then we have a sense of topophobia, that is a fear to, you know, towards a particular place. So ये था आपका, है ना, first passage. Now you can see the passage was you know, not that difficult to understand, but the way it has been written and a new conceptual technique, you know, that has been introduced here, and the author is coining some new terminologies and all here as well. So these things might make one feel out of place or out of sync when they are talking about, you know, these particular passages. ठीक है ना, तो ये चीज़ है. So folks, you can download the entire passage from the group, है ना. So Telegram में just search for you know, RAVIMANORAM, and you'll find this entire collection of RCs out there. I've just uploaded, है ना. So you can download it from there, and then you can start answering the questions. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to answer the questions, and then one by one we are going to discuss. ठीक है, तो यही भी है. चलो करो ज़रा. try and answer the questions, people. चलो one by one देखते हैं. So the word topophobia in the passage is used. Okay, so before I progress further, let me tell you a couple of things. When it comes to reading comprehension, there are two things that you should always keep in mind, which is one is confirming the answer from the passage, and elimination of options. For example, if you feel the first option is correct, then you should also try and prove that the other options are wrong. Okay? Most of the students, they don't tend to gain good accuracy in reading comprehension is because they do not practice confirmation and elimination. So the word topophobia used in the passage is used for what? So that's actually the question. So that answer is absolutely right. To represent a feeling of dread towards particular spaces and places. So from here you can see that is exactly what the answer is. But then even if you feel this answer is right, try and prove the other options to be wrong. To signify the fear of studying the complex disciplines of topography as a metaphor expressing failure of the homeland to accommodate non-citizens, topophobia. Okay, as a metaphor to express the failure is part and parcel of the dread towards a particular space. To signify the fear of studying the complex discipline of topography. ये तो बिल्कुल ही गलत हो जाएगा. Fourth is to signify fear of feelings of fear or anxiety towards topophilic people. So people who tend to fear a particular place, and if we fear them, then that is essentially what topophobia is. Sorry, somebody who loves a place, topophilic. So somebody, let's say, who loves Delhi, and we tend to develop a fear towards those people who love Delhi, then that is known as topophobia. So fourth here you can see is clearly wrong. 3 is partially correct. So the best answer that accommodates everything is the first answer. Let's look at question number 2. Which of the following statements, if true, could be seen as not contradicting the arguments in the passage? So could be seen as not contradicting. So the options that support the argument in the passage, that will not be the answer. The option that will contradict, the options that contradict the theories and the information given in the passage, that will not be the answer. And the option that will support the theories and the concepts given in the passage, that will essentially be the answer. Hello Ishita, you're here as well. Welcome. Okay. Chalo. So the most important, any answer to this particular question? So the most important, even fundamental response to our environment is a tactile and olfactory response. Anyone? The most important, even fundamental response. This is not a fundamental response, right? So this is contradicting, so this is wrong. Generally speaking, in a given culture, the ties of the people to their environment vary a little insignificant or intensity. Because that the option says the most important, even fundamental. Now this is not the fundamental response, because if you look at the passage, it says the third response to the environment also depends on the human senses, but may be tactile and olfactory, namely a delight in the field. So ये एक fundamental response नहीं है, ठीक है ना? This can be the third bond as well, but this is not the fundamental one, right? And that therefore it would not be the answer. Generally speaking, in a given culture, the ties of the people to their environment vary little in significance or intensity. It varies greatly in the passage it is given, so this also is contradicting the information given in the passage, so this will also not be the answer. Patriotism, usually seen as a positive feeling, is presented by the author as a darker form of topophilia. Now in the passage the author does present patriotism in the darker sense, that is including war preparation and ethnic cleansing, right? So the third option seems to support, so it's not contradicting. New urbanism succeeded. The author is saying that this may not succeed, that is the effects are not long lasting, right? So ये वैसे succeed नहीं करता है. So even fourth is contradicting. So fourth is also not the answer. The answer here is option 3. The answer is option 3. Question number 3, in the last paragraph, the author uses the example of residents of upscale in residential developments to illustrate them. Those who do not have the passage, you can download it from here. So in the last paragraph, the author uses the example of residents of upscale residence development to illustrate what? What is the author trying to highlight in this case? Anyone? Any answer to this question? See, one says introduction of nationalist projects by such elites to produce a sense of dread or topophobia. Okay. Residents of upscale residence, residential development to illustrate what? Okay. So one is saying that nationalist projects by such elites. So that is actually related to patriotism or ethnic cleansing or something like that. Second says, social exclusivism practiced by such residents in order to enforce a sense of racial or class superiority. Yes, this is being talked about in the passage, and this is something we've seen in the passage as well. So the moment you confirm things from the passage, social position, and by reinforcing class and racial differences, distinct community residents of upscale residential environment development. So you can see the answer is here, right? So ये चीज़ है, and so second is definitely correct, right? Manner in which environments are designed to minimize social exclusion. They promote social exclusion. Sensitive response to race and class problems in upscale residential developments. Sensitive response, they don't tend to be sensitive towards race and class problems, right? So even fourth is wrong here. Okay. Now let's come to question number 4. Which one of the following best captures the meaning of the statement Topophilia is difficult to design for and impossible to quantify? Best captures the meaning of this particular statement. So for this, where do we need to go for the answer? Here. Topophilia is difficult to design for and impossible to quantify. Now we have to see which option is going to capture this thing. Okay? तो ये चीज़ है. Where is question number 4? Okay? So one says people's response to the environment are usually subjective and so cannot be rendered in design. Okay, fair enough. So this seems to be point here. Okay. Now the second one says the deep anomie of modern urbanization led to new urbanism's intricate sense of a sense of place. Okay. And the third one says architects have to objectively quantify space and hence cannot be topophilic, and philosopher architects are uniquely suited to develop topophilic designs. So now people, you tell me what should be the answer in this case. By the way, the deep anomie of modern urbanization led. Anomie is some standard, some kind of a standard which is lacking, ethical standards or some other standard, social standard. तो इस चीज़ के बारे में बात हो रही है. So the point is topophilia is difficult to design. Now this point is being captured by option 1, right? So 1 here is correct. ठीक है. Fifth question देखते हैं people. सिद्धार्थ तुम ए टाइप करके है ना, तो ये चीज़ है. Which one of the following comes closest in meaning to the author's understanding of topophilia? Author's understanding of topophilia. So the tendency of many cultures to represent their land as motherland or fatherland may be seen as an expression of their Topophilia. Nomadic societies are known to have the least affinity for the land through which they traverse because they tend to be topophobic. The French are not overly patriotic, but they will refuse to use English as far as possible, even when they know it well. Scientists have found that most creatures, including humans, are either born with or cultivate a strong sense of topography. So folks, इसमें what do you think would be the answer? Yes, everyone. Once again, folks, the answer here is 1. The tendency of many cultures to represent their land as motherland or fatherland may be seen as an expression of their topophilia. That is love for a place. They love the place so much that they tend to call it as motherland or fatherland, right? So that here is the correct answer. चलो second passage करते हैं people. Try and download the passage from here in the group. Oh, Aditya, I didn't see your response there. Again, this one is quite a complicated passage. It's a tough passage. लेकिन जब तक आप देखो, अब ये ओरिजिनल कैट में तो पैसेजेस ऐसे अब आने लग गए हैं. 2019 से काफ़ी चीज़ें चेंज हो गई हैं. So you cannot avoid to not do, you cannot avoid to do these kind of passages. है ना, करना भी ज़रूरी है. तो ये Okay, let me try and explain the passage. Free of the taint of manufacture. The phrase in particular is heavily loaded with the ideology of what the Victorian socialist William Morris called the anti-scrape or an anti-capitalist conservationism. है ना? Not conservatism, it's conservationism. है ना? Conservatism is that I'm not open to new ideas. Conservationism is about conserving something. है ना? An anti-capitalist conservationism that solaced itself with a vision of a pre-industrial golden age. है ना? In Britain, folk may often appear a cozy fossilized form, But when you look more closely, the idea of folk who has the right to sing it, dance it, invoke it, collect it, belong to it, or appropriate it for political or cultural ends has always been contested territory, है ना. तो ये भी है. So in Britain, folk may appear a cozy, fossilized form. मतलब क्या है, फोक म्यूजिक जैसे नहीं होता, जैसे राजस्थानी म्यूजिक हो गया, बहुत सारे ऐसे म्यूजिक होते हैं जिनको हम लोग फोक म्यूजिक कहते हैं, ठीक है, राइट. तो ब्रिटेन में भी उनका एक अपना कोई फोक म्यूजिक है, फोक कल्चर है, पुराने ज़माने का कल्चर जो है, तो वो काफ़ी फॉसिलाइज हो गया, मतलब काफ़ी पुराना हो गया है, ठीक है ना. सो वेन एवर पीपल हियर इट, दे जस्ट हियर इट जस्ट यू नो टू kind of know what some kind of an ancient music is, you know. But when you look more closely, the idea of folk who has the right to sing it, dance it, invoke it, collect it, belong to it, or appropriate it for political or cultural ends has always been contested territory. तो फोक म्यूजिक कभी कभी ना कल्चरल पैशन को, नेशनलिस्ट पैशंस को इवोक करने के लिए लोग कभी कभी फोक म्यूजिक वगैरह को के बारे में उसको यूज़ करते हैं. बट देन फोक म्यूजिक को गाने की राइट किसे है, वी डोंट नो. डांस किसे करने का हक है, वी डोंट नो, ठीक है ना. इट्स अ कंटेस्टेड टेरिटरी, है ना. किसे पॉलिटिकल एजेंडा के लिए यूज़ करना चाहिए, किसको किसी कल्चरल पर्पस के लिए यूज़ करना चाहिए, ठीक है. सो दिस हैज़ ऑलवेज बीन अ कंटेस्टेड टेरिटरी. व्हाई इज ऑथर सेइंग दैट दिस इज ऑलवेज कंटेस्टेड और डिबेटेबल, उसका जो एक्सप्लेनेशन है ऑथर ने आगे दिया है. So it says, you know, in our time, though the word folk has achieved a rare distinction of occupying fashionable and unfashionable status simultaneously, है ना. फोक म्यूजिक जो है कभी फैशनेबल हो गया, कभी अनफैशनेबल है ना. Just as the effusive floral prints of the radical William Morris now cover genteel sofas, so the revolutionary intentions of many folk historians and revivalists have led to music that is commonly regarded as parochial and conservative, है ना. So it says that so the revolutionary intention of many folk historians and revivalists have led to music that is commonly regarded as parochial and conservative. तो ये जो फोक हिस्टोरियंस हैं जो या फोक म्यूजिक को रिवाइव करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, बाकी लोग उनको लैमेंट करते हैं, क्रिटिसाइज करते हैं, द सेंस दैट इट इज वेरी parochial, वेरी कॉमन, एज वेरी यू नो conservative as well. And yet, as newspaper columns periodically rejoice, folk is hip again. That is hip again का मतलब क्या है, popular again, ठीक है. Influencing artists, clothing and furniture designers, celebrated at music festivals, awards ceremonies and on TV, reissued on countless record labels. Folk is a sonic shabby chic containing elements of the uncanny and eerie. Uncanny and eerie, something which is very it's not very clever or something. It's very easily understood. And eerie as in it can be frightening, because sometimes some of the past musics are they tend to talk about many different things, as well as antique veneer, that is it gives you a sense of connection with the past. A whiff of Britain's heathen dark ages. Heathen dark ages का मतलब क्या है? Earlier British were the English were not Christians. Christian as a religion was introduced, so earlier they had this heathen, that is they used to worship the trees or the mountains, the rivers, or what we call it as pagan culture, So the very obscurity and anonymity of folk music's origins open a space for rampant imaginative fancy. So the very obscurity and anonymity, तो folk music generally है ना, people say it's part and parcel of the culture, है ना, लेकिन nobody is clear about what folk music is. Many of the people don't know, anonymous है, so they don't know about what folk music is, है ना. तो अब क्या है कि folk music के नाम पे आजकल जो है बहुत सारे लोग जो है कुछ भी है ना इमेजिन करते हैं, एंड उसके हिसाब से फिर वो क्रिएट कर देते हैं folk music को, है ना. तो ये बात इसमें हो रही है. Then the next paragraph is saying, Cecil Sharp, who wrote about this subject, believed that folk songs existed in constant transformation, a living example of an art form in a perpetual state of renewal. So folk music जो है वो बार बार जो है ट्रांसफॉर्म हो रहा है, रिन्यू हो रहा है. One man sings a song and then others sing it after him, changes what they do not like, है ना. So मैंने किसी से गाना सुना, now if I go about singing that song, जो मुझे उस गाने में अच्छा नहीं लगा मैंने उसको चेंज कर दिया, उसमें मैंने कुछ अपना ऐड कर दिया, है ना. do not like is the most concise summary of his conclusions on his origins. That is why the author is saying that folk music is always on a state of renewal, right? So he compared each rendition of a ballad to an acorn falling from an oak tree. Every subsequent iteration sows the song anew, but there is tension and newness. In the late 1990s, purists were suspicious of folk songs recast in rock idioms. So ये जो folk songs है वो कहता है rock idioms में जो है वो recast होते थे, मतलब rock music में वो अब जो है use होने लग गए थे. Electrification, however, comes in many forms. For the 20th century, early 20th century, composers such as Vaughan Williams and Holst, they were thunderbolts of inspiration from Oriental mysticism. जैसे जो कभी-कभी Chinese music होता है ना, Oriental mysticism, angular modernism, and the body blow of the First World War, as well as input from the rediscovered folk tradition itself. So Vaughan Williams and Holst, they use Oriental mysticism, they rediscovered folk traditions and all that stuff. So basically what it means is मॉडर्न डे रॉक स्टार्स या रॉक म्यूजिक में, पॉपुलर म्यूजिक में जो है फोक म्यूजिक इंट्रोड्यूस होने लग गया था. ठीक है. फॉर द सेकेंड वेव ऑफ फोक रिवाइवलिस्ट सच एज इवान मैककॉल एंड एल लॉर्ड स्टार्टिंग इन द 40s, the vital space was communism's dream of a post-revolutionary New Jerusalem. Further, younger successors in the 60s who thronged the folk clubs set up by the old guard, the lyrical freedom of Dylan and the unchained melodies of psychedelia created the conditions for folk rock's own golden age, a brief Indian summer that lasted from about 1969 to 1979. अब जो न्यू जेरूसलम, you know, it's divided between the Jews and the Christians, so it's basically both are trying to coexist together in that particular place. There have been a lot of conflicts we've seen in Jerusalem, so they want a new Jerusalem coming up there. So for decades on, even the progressive period has become just one more era rife for fashionable emulation and pastiche. The idea of a folk tradition being exclusively confined to oral transmission has become a much looser, less severely guarded concept. And recorded music and television for today's metropolitan generation are where the equivalent of folk music, folk memories are seated. So recorded music और television shows में जो है हमें ये folk music वगैरह सब जो है ये सुनने को हमें मिलता है. ठीक है ना. तो ये चीज़ है. ठीक है. So for decades, even the progressive period has become just one more era rife for fashionable emulation and pastiche. So they tend to just copy or create or get inspired from other people's work. That is essentially what it is trying to say. Okay? So the idea of folk tradition being exclusively confined to oral transmission has become a much looser, less severely guarded concept. So the idea of folk tradition being exclusively confined to oral transmission. So if oral transmission अब नहीं होता है, there are many different ways that it is being transformed, and that is recorded music and television for today's metropolitan generation are where the equivalent of folk memories are seated. तो ये recorded music, television और shows में जो है आपको जो equivalent of folk memories आपको वहाँ पर मिलती है ना. तो ये चीज़ है. Let's try and look at the questions, people. Let's try and look at the questions. Now it says all of the following are causes for plurality and diversity within the British folk tradition except. So what has caused folk music to diversify? So that is essentially, so our causes, जो cause नहीं है वो आपका आंसर होगा. अच्छा, by the way people, did you notice the heavy usage of critical reasoning based questions and these things? So question number 6 says, option 1 says paradoxically folk forms are both popular and unpopular. So there is plurality and diversity, therefore it will be popular and unpopular. That so okay, fair enough. So that's what but then is that what plurality and diversity actually means? Popular and being popular and unpopular both, right? So that British folk continues to have traces of pagan influence from the dark ages. अभी मैंने बोला था ये जो ना heathen लोगों को ही pagan influence कहा जाता है. The British folk forms can be traced to the remote past of the country. Only remote past? No, it can be traced to the ancient past. The fluidity of folk forms owing to the history of oral mode of transmission. पैसेज में भी कहा गया कि ओरल मोड ऑफ ट्रांसमिशन से उससे डाइवर्सिटी बढ़ी है. ठीक है. सो पॉपुलर और अनपॉपुलर ठीक है. व्हेन टू थिंग्स आर देयर, समथिंग इज पॉपुलर, समथिंग इज अनपॉपुलर. क्या बट देन बेस्ड ऑन दीज टू टर्म्स वी कैन वी डिफाइन popularity and diversity, because when you're talking about diversity it means in different forms. It just does not mean that it is popular or unpopular. Therefore you can see that 1 then becomes the best answer in this case. 2, 3 and 4 they contribute towards the plurality and diversity within the folk tradition, while 1 does not contribute towards that, or except likha question, so that which will not be the causes for plurality and diversity, that will become our answer in this case. Okay. Let's look at question number 7. Which of the following statements about folk revivalism of the 1940s and 1960s cannot be inferred? है ना. Cannot be inferred का मतलब क्या है? Cannot be inferred. So you can see heavy usage of critical listening people. Inferred means what must be true. What must be true based on the given passage. What must be true. Now let's see what's going to be the answer in this question. Anyone here? Even though it led to folk rock's golden age, it wasn't entirely free from critique. Okay, na? So this can be inferred because this is given in the passage. Electrification of music जो है would not have happened without the influence of rock music. No electrification of music otherwise would have happened. तो ये चीज़ तो passage से हम लोग infer नहीं कर सकते. Third says freedom and rebellion were popular themes during the second wave of folk revivalism, है ना. So freedom and rebellion था, that is why they wanted to see a new Jerusalem. And it reinforced Cecil Sharp's observation about folk's constant transformation, है ना. So you can see that Cecil Sharp has talked about folk music's perpetual state of renewal and transmission, है ना. तो ये चीज़ है. So here you can see that in this question, sorry, the best answer here then becomes is question number 2. Sorry, option number 2. ठीक है. So that's the thing. Let's look at question number 8, wherein it says the author says that folk may often appear a quasi-fossilized form because. Why would it appear to be quasi-fossilized form, people? Think about it. It says it has been arrogated for various political and cultural purposes. No. Folk is a sonic shabby chick with an antique veneer. No. The notion of folk has led to several debates and disagreements. Okay. Of its nostalgic association with the pre-industrial past may often appear to be quasi and fossilized form. That is precisely what the author has said in the passage as well, है ना. Quasi fossilized and so on and so forth. So here the best answer here then is option number 4. ठीक है. 9th को देखते हैं people. The primary purpose of the reference to William Morris and his Florent print is to show the pervasive influence of folk on contemporary art, culture and fashion. That what was once derided, that is mocked as genteel, is now considered revolutionary. That what is once regarded as radical in folk can later be seen as conformist. And then that despite its archaic origins, folk continues to remain a popular tradition. Which one do you think would be the answer in this case? that what is once regarded as radical in folk can later be seen as conformist, है ना. So the primary purpose of reference to William Morris and his floral prints, है ना. So now he's basically just conforming to it, right. So that is why इधर आंसर जो है आपका 3 हो जाएगा, ठीक है. Then we have question number 10. At a conference on folk forms, the author of the passage is least likely to agree with which one of the following? Least likely to agree with, है ना. So just see which of the options the author is likely to agree with. The ones which are not likely to agree with, then we'll try and eliminate accordingly, है ना. So ये चीज़ है. So in 1 it says the power of folk residents and its contradictory ability to influence and be influenced by the present while remaining rooted in the past. Okay, so author, I think I agrees with 10. Folk forms, despite their archaic origins, remain intellectually relevant in contemporary times. So it does remain intellectually relevant, so this is right. So author of the passage would agree with this. Folk forms in their ability to constantly adapt to the changing world exhibit an unusual poise and homogeneity with each change. There is no homogeneity, that is not there. Most of the revivalism that has happened in the field of folk music, they don't tend to be almost the same. There's a great variety we can say. So author would least likely agree with 3rd. 4th is the plurality and democratizing impulse of folk forms emanate from the improvisation that its practitioners bring to it. So author would agree with this one as well, right? Would agree with this one. Author would agree with this one. So the option that the author is least likely to agree is option 3. So 3 then here becomes our answer. So that's it folks for today, and we'll continue with more practice sessions and all, right. So join the group so that you get the updates and everything, right, and then we'll continue with these YouTube sessions in the time to come. Okay folks, so that brings us to the end of today's session, right. Don't forget to take advantage of these courses that are already available. Critical listening, Parabase, and some of these courses are going on right now. Join the Telegram group so that you get the updates for the future classes, right, and you can enroll in these batches as well, that are going on for CAT 2022 and 2021. Use my code to get 10% discount, and join the Unacademy platform, and together we shall crack it. Thank you folks. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm here. Don't forget to follow me on Unacademy, and please join my group as well. And if you choose to subscribe to Unacademy, use my code and you will get 10% discount, and you will be getting my exclusive mentorship as well. Any questions here folks? Any questions? Chalo then, let's call it a day. Thank you very much.